Techniques and martial art techniques being used by people who aren't experienced in using these techniques?
Well, the result can be very dramatic in some cases. It can cause death, unconsciousness. I guess the side effects of these types of pressure points and striking to these types of areas can actually cause cardiac arrest, can cause blood clots and all sorts of other very, very dangerous side effects.
How does that happen?
Well, depending on how the strike or the hold is being demonstrated, like anything around the neck can be extremely vulnerable, as you're probably aware. If you strike anything near the carotid artery, it can cause like when a hose is bent in half, it can cause a clog and stop blood running to the brain. There's also a lot of nerve endings. There's a nerve that runs from the brain down through the neck next to the carotid artery, down into your heart with the vagus nerve, which is extremely dangerous. It regulates your heartbeat. Being struck or held in that area can be devastating.
So, how much experience should someone have before they try to use anything such as a pressure point technique?
Well, a lot of the pressure points are also connected to Chinese medicine. Each pressure point is in Chinese medicine related to an organ and other points in the body. These type of people that go and learn acupressure or acupuncture have to take many years to actually learn how to use these types of pressure points to heal. The same should really be required for these sorts of holds and strike through.
And in the past you mentioned even Victoria Police have moved away from using things like pressure points because it can be so dangerous.
That's exactly right. There was a pressure point they were used to use against protesters where they push in behind the back of the ear and up into the neck. I think there was a lot of court cases and a lot of public uproar about these types of holds, and I think that the Victoria Police have moved away from using some of these holds and restraints.
What about even, martial arts techniques, knees and kicks and jabs and strikes, knuckle strikes, elbow strikes?
Yeah.
Once again, is that something that needs
That's
to
a
be
place for the security industry, I think. These types of techniques should really only be used in a real self-defense type. See, I teach women to attack vulnerable points like flicking to the eye or poking in the throat or kicking the groin. These are the main ones we really focus on. But this is only to be done in really dire situations when you're fending off an attacker for your life. So really, these types of techniques, should only be used in protecting yourself against real serious violence and real attack, or protecting your loved ones against serious violence and attack. But in the circumstances of being in a security industry or crowd control, these techniques are really out of place, I believe.
So they belong in the martial arts room in a controlled environment or for life, self-defense.
Self-defense and protecting yourself and your loved ones.
How dangerous, talking about those sorts of manoeuvres, strikes and things, once again, is that something without proper teaching can be quite devastating to someone?
Absolutely. As I said, any strike around the side of the head, the temple, the throat is devastating. Even striking to the solar plexus and sternum, as you know, when someone's unconscious or their heart stops, they perform CPR. And one of the responses to get the heart working again is to press heavily down on the chest. When you have someone knee on your chest, or you hit the chest very hard, it can defib the heart. You can actually stop your heart. In the same sense, it can actually bring the heart back to beat again. So, look, extraordinarily dangerous. If you've got someone kneeing on you, pressing a lot of pressure down on your chest, you've got your lungs, your internal organs are all getting compressed. And if you have a previous ailment, heart condition, or then you're stressed in that environment, it can bring all sorts of other side effects like heart attack, stroke, all those sorts of things can come on from this type of use of pressure points and striking and holds.
What sort of environments are pressure points taught in these days? Is that something that, you would teach that perhaps to women in self-defense? You don't even go there?
No, we absolutely do. Look, if a woman's attacked on the street, you have to assume their attacker is a lot bigger and stronger than them. To deal with kicking and punching doesn't really suit the bill. So if you're dealing with an attacker who's a lot bigger and stronger than you try to make your striking much more efficient, like a flick to the eye, the kick to the groin, push your opponent away, then you're on away. But actually, as I said, these types of strikes can be extraordinarily dangerous. You poke someone in the throat, it only takes about 10 pounds of pressure to destroy the larynx. 10 pounds of pressure is hardly anything. So it's very important that these techniques are taught as a last resort, really a last resort. As I said earlier, you're protecting yourself against serious life and death violence, or you're protecting loved ones and family members against attack. It's the only time I can see that these types of techniques should be used.
Have you, working in this industry, have you heard of pressure points being used? Do you know of any examples where pressure points have been used to a negative effect?
Sure, look, there's pressure points all over the body, obscure pressure points all over the body, and striking these can cause, just with a fist, can cause concussion, and as you know, if you get hit in the jaw and it turns the head very quickly, the brain moves up against the inside of the skull, that creates a concussion. If they hit their head on the ground, then it can cause death, as we know happened to the famous cricketer David Hawkes. It's happened to many other people over previous years. People were knocked unconscious and hit their head on the ground, that cause a hemorrhage, let they go. So these types of, any type of strike can be extremely dangerous in these types of security type industry. Really should be left alone, the striking. There should be control and restraint, really. Control and restraint, not pressure point. Control and restraint and then injection, I believe.
Thank you very much. I think we've sort of covered everything. Is there any other way you'd like to put it, or anything else that you want to add?
I can't think of anything really. As I said, it is an extremely dangerous type of thing to strike in a security type industry. Again, it's a hard one though when you're dealing with someone striking at you, or multiple opponents striking at you, and you're maybe outnumbered. However, it's not their job to punch, kick, and injure their clients. It's more an issue of getting them out, but getting them out safely.
In fact, the way you put it when it was off camera that explained it really well to me. So I might try and get you to do that again for me if you can. Just talking about how a pressure point can affect you if you've had alcohol.
Sure.
In a stressful
Sure.
environment, and what that does to bring
Certainly,
on that
yeah.
shock.
Look, yeah. If you've been gambling or losing money, and then also drinking, and again, if you have a previous condition, and then something occurs, you have multiple security industry people maybe holding you down, pressuring your neck, putting pressure on your neck, putting pressure on your torso. That can be extremely dangerous.
The pressure point technique also, you said, can bring on shock. That can trigger death too.
Absolutely. So look, when a person strikes a pressure point, the brain releases all sorts of different chemicals into the bloodstream, which can bring on a shock response. It can paralyze a person, and as I said, those sorts of things can bring on death. As I said, when you have things like carotid artery and then nerve endings, when a nerve ending gets hit, when you hit your funny bone, you get that shock. It's not funny, yes. We don't know why they call it the funny bone, but it's not funny. It hurts a great deal. And as when you hit your shin bone on, maybe you're walking past something and you hit your shin bone on the coffee table, that's because there's nerve endings running along the outside of your nerve, and it instantly brings on pain and quite sharp pain. And if you're being held down and you're getting that sharp pain, you cannot stop them doing it. Again, the body goes into a lot of stress and can be really detrimental to the client.
Well, thank you very much. All right, that was wonderful. If you want to get a 2-shot quickly, and then what we'll do is we'll get you to you'll just get a couple of shots of us talking now.
Sure.
But I wonder if you're able just to demonstrate some of those type, when you were showing along the neck, that sort of thing, that carotid artery.
Yes.
If we just get you showing it perhaps like on a mannequin, just looking at me.
I've got a little Tony's figure, which has got pressure points all over
Oh,
it.
that would be
I
great.
can switch
Yeah,
to grab it.
all right.
From that picture there, this one there.
This one like this.
Oh, great. They're all the pressure points. Oh my goodness.
So these are the ones they use for acupuncture
Acupuncture.
and acupressure. So if you look here, this one has STs. Sure.
Yeah. No, I'll get
This
out.
one here has related to the stomach meridian, and these run all the way up.
So are they the real dangerous ones? In
Well, the
there?
real dangerous ones are anything around the neck here, anything around the temple here on the face here, okay, anything here, at the back here, on the neck, anything on the neck, anything on the spine, extremely dangerous.
Is
Anything
there
down.
your internal organs? Anything?
That's right. Anything that runs down through the centre here is extremely dangerous. As you know, if you know the bridge of the nose, the throat, the sternum, the abdomen, the groin, extraordinarily dangerous, extraordinarily painful. But as you see, you've got things on the tip of the toe, the hands, all through the body. These are obviously, these ones along the arms, you know, cause pain, but aren't as serious as dangerous. But what the Chinese believe is, all of these points relate to different organs in your body. So, you know, it's a holistic approach because you think, if you're hurting this, it's not going to affect anything else in your body. Of course it does. The brain releases pain receptors. It tells the body it's in pain. So everything's affected. Everything's affected. Anything striking around these areas, extraordinarily dangerous. Extraordinarily
I'll
dangerous.
just get you to point again to the dangerous ones around the head and the neck. Yeah.
Sure, anything down here, on the neck, anything on the side
You've
here.
got to be. I mean, could you hit it by accident? I mean, people can. Or do
Sure,
you have
but
to be very good at it to really know what you're doing when you don't?
sure, when there's people moving around, okay, but if they're being restrained, there's 2 or 3 of them, that areas, they can't protect themselves if
Yeah.
getting hit, so,
So if they've got a knee in your neck or something, they're potentially.
well, that's extraordinarily dangerous. As I said, it only takes a small amount of pressure to just crush this area, so, and if you're being
10 pounds of pressure.
that's right. So if you just get your own finger and you put it to the side of your throat and just push a little bit, you can understand how
Yeah.
devastating this is, because when you thrust or push something with the tip, it magnifies the power. You understand? Because if you've got a high heel on and you stump on their foot, the reason it's so painful because all the weight comes down through your leg and it is magnified to a small point, which magnifies the force also. Okay? So again, yeah, a lot of this can be extraordinary. Extraordinary.
And the stories I've heard, you know, like it's 6 guys, all with knees, arms,
Yeah,
elbows,
they're all-
on
and-
one drunk person.
That's right, and the problem is there's probably, they may be extraordinarily drunk and they can't, well they'll be saying get off me, but they can't stop what's going on to them, so that's why they get so stressed so quickly, and that's why it can be so
And they're not able
devastating.
to communicate.
That's right, if they're
They're
intoxicated or they're just getting crushed, it happens so many times over the years, we meet you all the time.
That David Hook scenario you were talking about was interesting too, because that's one that, you know, gets brought up a lot. And that's
Whack,
the sort of thing.
Unconscious, hits the ground,
Right.
bang, he's dead,
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
All right,
I
we're done.
think it's all.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.